Don't hang up that phone. We've found what you're looking for. Welcome to the Let's Talk Cabling Podcast with Chuck Bowser, RCDD. Well, seeing how we're pulling Category 6A, the most powerful twisted pair in the world, you gotta ask yourself this one question. Did I pull 295 or 300 feet? Well, do you feel lucky? Do you, punk? What exactly does RCDD stand for? Registered Communications Distribution Designer. Just the expert you need to ensure your cable plant performs exactly as designed. The elite professional, knowledgeable, and experienced in leading-edge ICT design principles. Now, send the new guy to the truck for a bucket of dial tone and the cable stretchers, while you listen to an informative program on telecommunications.
Hey, it's Thursday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I feel like I'm supposed to be somewhere. Where am I supposed to be? Something tells me I've got something I'm supposed to be tonight. You ever have the problem where you just kind of like forget, you forget stuff? I mean, I put stuff in my calendar all the time too, but I still sometimes mess up, right? I can't be the only one who does that stuff. So, yeah. My brother actually came up with the script for that. So, for the things, and I don't really use it anymore except for here on the live streams. I used to do it before every podcast, but I don't do that now for every podcast. So Thursday night after hours live stream with Chuck Bowser, RCDD, where you get to ask your installation, certification, design, estimation, project management, safety questions, certification, career advice. That's what I'm here for the next 30 minutes. So make sure you put your questions in the chat box. Broadcasting live on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. I still have not set up my Instagram yet. I got a spare phone here that I got to kind of set up to it and put to it. So again, any questions about copper and fiber cabling? Now, we have some things that we always kind of go through before every single show. And the first one is, what are you drinking? What are you drinking? It is after hours, by the way, so you can be drinking an adult beverage. I'll turn my light down just a little bit. You can be drinking an adult beverage. There's a guy I've been talking to on TikTok over the last couple of days, the Angry Sparky, I think his name is. And I said, you should come to the show because I'll be drinking heavily. It'll make it all the more interesting. Come here. Yeah. So, what are you drinking? Put it in the chat box, right? What are you drinking tonight? Right? So I was drinking water, but I finished it right before the show started. So right now I'm not drinking anything. So I'm hoping that I don't run out. So somebody just sent me an invite on TikTok, and whoever that was, I'm sorry I didn't get to see it in time. I'm doing a live stream right now. Catch me at the end of the live stream, and maybe I'll do it then, but right now I'm doing a live stream. So what are you drinking? So George is drinking ice water. Cable Keeper's drinking coffee. Who's this? Brady is drinking H2O. Mr. Cable Dog Supreme is drinking. You know, we never caught up last week. We need to do that, my friend. Core water. I have no idea what core water is. You're going to have to explain that to me. I just don't have any idea. I don't. So that's what everybody's drinking tonight, and that's okay. That is okay. Now, what's the next thing we got to do? The next thing is the acronym challenge. The acronym challenge. If you know me, I do an acronym challenge across all my social media platforms at 810. LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest. I do some acronym challenges on TikTok, but not a bunch. This week we're on chapter 14, the building automation section of the TDMM. So that's where this acronym comes from. This acronym, for those on TikTok who cannot see the acronym is BMS. BMS. Somebody says Core is a brand of bottled water. Oh, okay. Very cool. BMS. It has something to do with building automation. What does that acronym mean? Somebody tell me in one of the chat boxes. What could it possibly mean? So the first guess was battery management system. That's not what it is, but it's close. It's close. Very, very close. BMS stands for Building Management Software. Building Management Software. Oh, by the way, when it comes to acronyms, please spay or neuter your acronyms. Help control the acronym population. We have enough acronyms in our industry. We don't need any more, period. Okay, so let's go ahead and knock that off. Let's clear that graphic out of the way. We've done our acronym challenge. Now, let's talk about, before we get started with the questions, and by the way, we got a really good question about Q&A here. Did you see last week's episode? It comes out, my podcast comes out every Monday night between 5 and 8, somewhere in that time frame. Somebody asked me, I kind of gave you a hint last week. I talked about how people asked me about computer certifications. While Chuck can wax poetic about cable certifications, I can't about computer certifications. So I did a whole entire episode about computer certifications. Okay, so computer certifications. So I don't know anything about computer certifications, so I asked Jess, an IT girl, to come on, and we did an interview. We went like 55 minutes. 55 minutes. I had to cut some of it out. Yeah, I had to cut some of it out. But yeah, there you go. So I edited it down real good. She talks about the CompTIA and the manufacturer certifications, and there's lots and lots of great resources we talked about in that episode. So make sure that you watch that. Okay. Yeah, it's on. If you go to YouTube, just type in "Let's Talk Cabling," you'll find it. You will absolutely find it. So the first question, I'm going to take this one right out of the gate. This one is before it clears. What are the best resources to learn about fiber? From Ducky MMO. Ducky MMO. There's lots of great resources out there for you. Okay, so the first resource I'm going to recommend is Cable Installation and Maintenance Magazine. Now, Cable Installation and Maintenance Magazine covers the entire industry, but they do have fiber optic articles in it. So that's my first one. Then, if you go to YouTube, there is a free 2-hour fiber video. If you type in free 2-hour fiber course, you'll find it. It's done by Fiber Instrument and Cells. Okay, so definitely make sure that that you go check that out. It's a good course to watch. The instructor, he's not one of those instructors that's really dry. He actually is pretty good at his delivery method. So I do recommend that. And then FOA has a free fiber course as well. I think if you do FOA free fiber course, you'll find it. But it's out there and you'll find it. And Chicken Wings to Go says, hire me, I'll teach you. Chicken Wing, I answered one of your questions tonight, just to give you a heads up. And then let me talk. Then also there was a question in here that I wanted to catch on before we get too much further as well. Where was it? I know I saw it. There it is. What are my tips to become great QA/QC? What are my tips to become a great QA/QC? Quality assurance, quality control. Okay. So there's two avenues here. The best avenue is to have walked the walk. Pulled cable, terminate cable, tested cable, right? And then the second important step is to know codes and standards. Know them very, very well, okay? So when you do QA and you start going out to do QA inspections, you're going to be meeting with crews out in the field. Now, the crew naturally is not going to want to show you the bad parts of their project. They want to show you the good stuff. That's why when you do a QA/QC, you want to make sure that you drive the inspection, not them. You drive the inspection. And the best way to do that is to have a form, a QA inspection form. Have one already created out. And first I'm going to look at the closet, then the backbone cable, then the work area outlets and all this stuff, and have a checklist. And that way you get to see each and everything. And it also will help you be consistent across crews. Because as a QA inspector, you have to be consistent. There can't be any feelings that, He's an old Marine, so he favors the guys who are ex-military, not us guys who never served in the military. No, have the form so that way you do the same inspection every time. Now, a good QA inspector will always find something. A good QA inspector will always find something. So here's the way that you deliver that report to the crew. Because I do recommend that you go over the inspection with the crew while you're on site. While you're on site. So what you're going to do is first, and always start off with the positive stuff. Man, I really liked how you all your fire stops are put in straight and level. They all had the right amount of putty in them. You did a really great job of dressing the cables in the closet, and all the faceplates are perfectly level, no fingerprints. Always start off with the positive stuff. Then you shift to the stuff that needs attention. When you shift to the stuff that needs attention, don't go, and what were you thinking when you put in that ladder rack? That's wrong. No. Come from a position of positivity, right? Say, next time when we put in the cable tray, let's do A, B, C, and D. Make it a training thing, a learning thing. Don't beat them over the head with it, right? And then the next important thing about doing QAs and QCs is to make sure that you document all of your QAs, take pictures, and then also start tracking them. That way you can start seeing needs across the company. If you do, a bunch of QAs and you notice that they all seem to be messing up on fire stopping, well then oh, I need to bring somebody in to teach them fire stopping classes. You see how that works? You bring in somebody, you teach them how to do fire stopping class, and they become better, right? So that's how you can do that. The next question, this is from PZ on the live feed on. I think he's coming across on YouTube. That's the bad thing about the comments in Restream. I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know if this is LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. So I'm assuming it's YouTube. He says, how can you turn a team into a high-performance team? Yes. Number one thing, communications. Communicate with your techs. Communicate with your teams. Give them clearly defined expectations. If you're pulling cable, let them know we need to have 30,000 feet of cable pulled a day. Because if you give a crew a goal, they will strive to not meet that goal. They will strive to beat that goal. That's how technicians are, right? And then make sure you reward them when they do. Okay? Make sure you reward them when they do. Don't just take it for granted. It's all about communications and recognition, right? Because we want to be patted on the back when we've done something right. Okay? We want to be patted on the back. It's natural. It's natural. We want to know that we did a good job. Okay? Another trick that I used to do, especially on larger projects. So what I would do is I'd get a whiteboard and I would mount it to the wall inside my little office that are on the site. And I'd have all the tasks broken down, and I would have 2 or 3 or 4 crews, and I would track the crews, and those crews I would have competitions between them. I'd say, okay, we're now terminating. Crew A, our daily goal is to get 50 faceplates installed a day. I'm just making up numbers. 50 faceplates, right? And then I would track the crews. And then the crew at the end of the week who did the most, I would buy them pizza for lunch, right? So it's little things about that. The easiest way to think about this is, how would you want to be treated as an employee, as a technician? That actually brings me to the motivational minute for today. I totally forgot about that. I did one last week. I'm also going to do another one this week. And I got this one off of LinkedIn. And it said, basically, the motivation quote is, be the person who you needed when you were young. Be the person who you needed when you were young. Think about that, right? Be the person that you needed when you were young. Mentor people, right? That's the big thing. Alrighty, so let's, one more thing I forgot to mention before I get too much further. I've already started answering some questions, but I want to put this out there. What are you doing Tuesday, March 15th at noon Eastern Standard Time? Guess what? I'm going to be a guest on Tech Talk with Steve, me and Blake Ermos. And we're going to be talking about how to win more bids and how to expand your service offering. So make sure that you come by and check out the Tech Talk with Steve. Just do a Google search for Tech Talk with Steve. You'll find him. He works with AEM. You'll find the show. Really, really, really good guy. Really good guy. So let's go ahead and go to my first question. And this question is from Jesus, and it was sent to me via email. And he says, Chuck, my boss is forcing me to clock out for lunch even when I have to sit in one of his meetings. What should I do? Okay, so first you need to do is you need to sit down and have a discussion with your boss. Okay? Again, it's all about communications. And ask him, why are we doing this? I'm on my lunch break. Either you pay me for my lunch break because I'm sitting in your meeting, or you let me go, not pay me, and let me go take my lunch. If that doesn't solve the issue, then go to the HR department and have a conversation with them. If that doesn't solve the issue, then I'm going to tell you, seek a lawyer, a labor lawyer. Because first off, if you're working, most of the states have this standard, right? And the standard says that if you have to take a break longer than 20 minutes, hold on. They don't have to pay you. No, they don't have to pay you if it's longer than 20 minutes. So if your lunch break's less than 20 minutes, they have to pay you. Some states are 30 minutes, right? But if they're making you perform a function, attend a meeting, be on a video conference call during your lunch break, they have to pay you for that in most states. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Seek a lawyer to get the understanding for your area, right? All right, the next question. And this one comes from Don and was submitted via LinkedIn. So Don says, Chuck, I have a customer that keeps beating me up over prices. What should I do? We've all had those kind of customers, haven't we? I like to call them cost-conscious customers. Cost-conscious customers. Yeah. But before we start talking about the cost-conscious customers, let me ask you a question, right? Do you really want a customer who their sole motivation is money, is to get the project done as cheap as possible? Do you really want that kind of a customer? It is okay to fire a customer. I think I talked about that last week or the week before. It is okay to fire a customer, right? It absolutely is okay. When you're in a relationship with a customer, that's a mutually beneficial relationship. It's got to benefit both parties. Don't ever lower your standard of installation. Don't ever lower your integrity because the customer wants you to do something cheaper. Your price is your price. If they don't like the price, then you need to look at changing the design. The price is the price, period. Okay? It is what it is. And don't ever lower your quality because of a customer doing that. And I'll give you an example. When I used to work for a large connectivity company in the U.S., one of our customers was one of the largest retail customers in the U.S. And every year, they would sign a contract with a certain number of contractors to do work at all of their locations across the United States. So everybody would bid against it, then they would sign the contracts. And then next year, when it comes time to redo the bid, they would make everybody rebid again. And then they would say, but your prices this year have to be cheaper than last year. So the first time that happened, we're like, yeah, okay, no problem. So we did that. The third year, they came around and said, your prices have to be cheaper than before. How do you do that? Material costs go up. Labor costs go up. We fired that customer. It hurt. It was a big customer. It hurt. But sometimes you just got to do that. Okay. All right, next question. Chicken wings to go. Are you still in the TikTok chat box? Because this one was yours, buddy. So he asked, let me write down. And I condensed this question down a little bit. When labeling patch panels, do you label the ports or do you just label the patch panel, right? So the 606 standard tells us that we need to be labeling the patch panels by the room numbers. By the rack unit numbers. The rack unit number is, it starts at 1 at the bottom, works its way up to whatever number it goes to. If it's a 7-foot rack, it's going to go to 45 rack units. So 45 would be the top. So when you got that patch panel, what you really should be doing, now this is not a rack mounted patch panel, but you can kind of get the idea, right? So you would put a 45 on this, and this would be 45-1, 45-2, 45-3, 45-4, all the way across to, however many ports you have on that patch panel. Okay. Now you're only having to print one label. I know the labeling companies don't necessarily like that, but that's the best way. Unless you have a really good quality labeling machine, like the one I have back over here, right, back over there, you're gonna have a hard time. So you better invest in good equipment. We used to be able to do them by the A, B, C, and D, but they don't want you doing that anymore because they want to go by the rack unit numbers. That way, if you start with one on the bottom, and you got two racks side by side, well, they'll all line up going all the way up because you're going by the rack unit numbers, not A, B, C, and D. But you can use both ways. This is one of those areas where the standard customers fall in one of about 4 categories, right? And they very rarely follow the labeling standards for some reason. It's just one of the most ignored standards we have. So just label by the rack unit numbers and start with one at the bottom, and that's gonna be your best option there. Right. Next question, and this one comes from Brian on TikTok, not tonight's TikTok, but a previous one. This was sent to me. Chuck, why do electricians hate network cable installers? How much time do we have? Because that could be a long question, right? A long question. In order to understand this, there are basically 3 or 4 reasons why electricians, and I'm not going to say all electricians hate low voltage installers, but there are a lot of them. And there's 4 major reasons why they don't like low voltage installers. Let's cover a few of those, right? Because if you understand some of the issues, you might be able to resolve them, right? So the first one is, and this is a big one, typically electricians are union. Typically low voltage are not union. So there's that whole union versus non-union thing going on, right? And I did a poll about this on one of my TikTok videos a while back, union versus non-union. And the last I looked, it was 50-50. And there were people saying all kinds of stuff. They're, union people are lazy. No, they're not. There are some lazy union people. Oh, the non-union people do poor quality. No, they don't. There are some non-union people who do poor quality work, but like I said last week, people are people. So that's one of the reasons. Another reason why sometimes you'll get that whole electricians hate low voltage people is because they think they're better than us. And why do they think that? Because they've got a superior apprenticeship program. That's why. They go through this great apprenticeship program to become a journeyman and all these tests and licensing they got to go through. And then they look at us low voltage people, and all we're doing is just throwing cable in the ceiling. Generally, not always. There are some states and some municipalities that do require you to be licensed to do low voltage work. So there's that feeling of, well, we had to go through all this work to be able to do our work, and here come these guys putting in that little cable. So that's another reason why there's animosity between electricians and low voltage people. The next one is we've burned them in the past. We have burned them in the past. And what does that mean? That means we were out there, we're pulling cable, and you know what? There's nobody coming behind inspect the low voltage work, because back then there was no Article 800, or there was no we just go put in our cable. Generally, we put our cable in after the final inspection was done for the project. Now, what happens is the electrical inspector would come out, and they would see all those 4-pair cables just laying on the grid, and it has to be fixed because that's a safety issue. So they would hit them up. The only people they knew how to hit with that was the electricians. And the electricians said, "Whoa, that's not our work. That's low voltage guys." So that's another reason for that animosity, right? And then the last one, I think, is fear of the unknown. They look at their stuff, they know their stuff inside and out, but then when they look at our stuff and look at all those colors and stuff, and the cables and fiber and copper and Cat 5e, Cat 6a, Cat 8. Why is there no Cat 7 or Cat 7a? Right? I'll do a whole separate show on Cat 7, Cat 7a. There is Cat 7, Cat 7a in the ISO standard, not in the ANSI standard. So there's that whole fear of not knowing exactly what the heck they're doing. That's another reason why there's animosity. And that's also the reason why electrical inspectors hate low voltage people. Because today's electrical inspectors were yesterday's electricians. Yeah, yeah. So they're getting, it's payback time. Oh, here's another reason. Here's another reason why they hate us. We're doing stuff that didn't meet the code book because the code book's not written in layman's terms. It's not easy to understand. Right? I'll give you an example. In the code book, when it talks about penetrating architectural assemblies, walls or floors. I don't know why they call them walls or floors. They call them architectural assemblies. Right? He says you have to bring all architectural assemblies back to their original rating through the use of a listed system. You boil that down into non-legalese, what that means is you have to put in a fire stop system that matches the rating of the wall or the floor. I don't know why they just couldn't say that. So we don't understand the code book, so we don't follow the code quite often because for whatever reason. And then electricians are like, I'm following the code. Why can't they follow the code? That's another reason why you get a lot of animosity back and forth between low voltage and high voltage installers. Right? It's one of the unfortunates of our things. The next question, this one also comes from, so Chicken Wings Ago says, there's also a level of arrogance with electricians against communication techs. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. That was my second bullet point that I talked about. I said, they think they're better than us. Yeah, they are better than us when it comes to putting in high voltage stuff. But the majority of the time, you don't want electricians putting in low voltage stuff because they think they can yank on it hard like they can their big cables. And it causes problems. Okay, last question. This is from Harley Ryder on Instagram. And Harley Ryder wants to know, well, I got the short version up there on the screen. Let me read the long version. It says, Chuck, I just started working at a new company, and they are not very well trained. They're doing everything wrong per codes and standards. What can I do and not sound like a jerk and try to correct them? So I'm assuming that Harley Ryder has a certification. Okay? So the first thing you need to do is there's two ways you can approach this, right? And first off, I want to say congratulations on the fact that you want to make them better. Thank you for that. We need more people like that in industry. But so the first thing you need to do is you need to think about this in two ways. And the first one is how do they feel about certifications and people with knowledge? Because they may be comfortable with what they know. Because you don't know what you don't know. And knowledge is one of those things that you don't know what you don't know until you start learning. When you start learning, you realize there's even more stuff you don't know. So if they have a negative attitude towards certifications or somebody who knows what they're doing, what you want to do then is when you go to work for them, don't start off out of the gate. You're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong. It goes back to the QA example I gave earlier. Remember? Start off with the positive stuff. But you want to do for the first 3-6 months, maybe 9 months, maybe even a year. Keep your head low and just do the work. Don't do anything that violates code. But what will happen is I tell this to people all the time. Your words to me mean nothing. Your actions mean something else. Right? You can tell me, oh, Chuck, I'm the best installer. I'm the best fiber guy in the world. Blah, blah. That's lip service. The proof is in the pudding, as my dad used to say. Banana pudding, matter of fact. Yeah. So keep your head low, keep doing your work, follow the codes, follow the standards, and what will happen is they'll see the quality of your work, the integrity of your work, and they're going to start building up respect for you. Once you start building up respect, then you can start saying, hey, you didn't put a fire stop in there. The code book says we have to put in a fire stop because we want to contain the flame, the heat, and the smoke, and the toxic off gases so people have more time to get out of the building. Again, from a teaching standpoint, from a position of positivity. Okay? That's if they don't value certifications. If they do value certifications, then you might be able to do this right out of the gate. But you still got, again, same thing with like the QA. Do it from a position of positivity. Don't come across, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, and you did that wrong. No. Hey, you did that really, really well. I liked how you did this, and I learned from that. You did this really, really well, and I like that as well. And then say, hey, when we install this next time, can we change this so that way it meets the code and it's a little bit safer? Again, it's all how you approach it. If you come off with, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, and you did that wrong, they're not even going to listen to the next sentence. They're not. They're not going to listen to the next sentence. And if you want change, you got to get people to listen. Dad always used to say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. You can't force it to drink. So, all right, so it is 6:30, but I do have a couple more questions here. PZ from YouTube says, my company doesn't pay for tools. I have thousands in tools. I like others to pick up the slack and go to Home Depot, but currently there's a communist mentality when it comes to my tools. That's a tale as old as time, my friend. It is. It truly, truly is. The only thing that you can really do to combat that is, I know the big thing now is that everybody carries their tools in backpacks or in pouches and stuff. I used to carry mine in a hard case. I used to lock that sucker down. And if they wanted to use one of my tools, I'd tell them, you can use it, but if I don't get it back at the end of the day, you're going to owe me this amount of dollars. But the way you solve that issue is you really need to address it with your company, because it really depends on the level of experience that the people have, right? If they're hiring somebody as an apprentice, the tools you're going to expect that apprentice to have, maybe snips, maybe screwdrivers, right? PPE and stuff like that. The very, very basic of the tools. If you're hiring somebody and they're a technician, then you're going to expect to see punch tools and keyhole saws and maybe continuity testers, right? So it kind of really all depends on the level of experience that they have. And the company really should have some kind of employee purchase program, right? So what that means is, if they're hiring somebody, you just let them know, look, okay, well, if you don't have the tools, here's the basic requirement. First off, you got to set the requirements. This level person needs these tools. This level of people need those tools. If you don't have these tools, you got to get them within a certain period of time. If you can't afford them, we will buy them for you, and then we'll do a tool deduction from your paycheck over a period of time. Make it easier for the people in the field. Okay. But I hear what you're saying. There is a whole mentality right now of, it's kind of different. People just expect it. But that's been around for a long time, though. I mean, truly, truly, truly has. Let's see this one here. Realistic benefit is to circle service loop versus figure 8 service loops. And what about circle service loops twisted into a figure 8? Okay, service loops. If you're doing Cat 3 and you got 10 megabit network, whatever, doesn't matter. When you start doing Cat 5e, Cat 6, Cat 6a, because they're operating on higher frequencies and you're putting a lot more data across them, the service loop that you want to do is either an extended loop, or a figure 8. Okay, you don't want to do a nice tight little coil. If you do a nice tight little coil, that creates an inductive coil, and that's going to cause you problems when you go test the cable. So extended loops or figure 8s, especially with high performance data cable. Now, with high performance data cabling like category 6A, category 6A can weigh up to as much as twice as much as 5E. 5E weighs about 19 pounds per 1,000 feet. Cat 6A can range from 30 pounds to about 40, 43 pounds. So it can be up to twice as much. So what that means is you need to use maybe the red shots on your powder actuated tool to support all that extra weight. And one last tip on slack, because I've talked about slack before in the after hours shows. Make sure you understand how much slack is in the bin. If the estimator left 10 feet of slack to be coiled up in the closet, do not leave 40 feet of slack. Because if you do, you will run out of cable before you run out of drops. Okay? Make sure you understand that requirement. Any other questions? All righty. We went a few minutes past my 30-minute thing. I hope that everybody's okay with that. I normally try to keep them short. Hey, make sure you check out the QR code right there. You can go to. You can also get to the link thing, my thing above. You can schedule a 15-minute one-on-one with me. You can buy me a cup of coffee. You have access to all my social media accounts. You have access to the podcast and also the website. Okay, so make sure you check that out. Share your brother. Buy me a cup of coffee. Okay. All right, everybody. Till next time. Remember,